and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Monday, the 23rd of November, 2020. I am your host, the Amazing Super Chris. Thank you for joining me this ungodly hour. I have got my co-hosts, Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog over at Pathos and the Laughing in Disbelief channel here on YouTube, and Nokasuchi, the host of the Rage channel here on YouTube. They're both going to be joining me in just a minute, and we're going to talk about cooties and religious people, because we'll be back right after this.
Evangelicals, Christians of every denomination, and believers of every faith have never had a greater champion, not even close, in the White House than you have right now. I think you know that.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Prayer?
Let's pray together, may we?
Yes.
Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
Why do I have to, repent? Why do I have to ask for forgiveness?
Skillful and godly wisdom have entered into the heart of our president.
You ask a lot of stupid questions.
I have never seen a more biblical president than I have seen in Donald Trump.
So right now, let every demonic network...
You are the enemy of the people.
Let it be broken. Let it be torn down in the name of Jesus.
Here is the Republican platform.
And if you don't support me, you're going to be so goddamn poor.
If President Trump is not reelected,
Here is the Word of God.
there is going to be a backlash against people of faith like we cannot imagine.
Where do you stand?
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
I watch a man that comes out and fights for righteousness.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. The Pope would have only wished and prayed
Thank you, sir, for uniting our nation and calling us to prayer.
that Donald Trump would have been president.
I think the Pope needs to seek Donald Trump's forgiveness.
He's a pussy. I think God put him there.
Get that son of a bitch off the field.
Let the angel of the Lord encamp around about him.
God raised up, I believe, Donald Trump.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God.
I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Romans 13 does give President Trump moral authority to use whatever force necessary,
I'm going to bomb the shit out of
You
him.
need to send in 35,000.
including assassination.
This book right here will tell you how to vote.
I'm confident that the Lord is at work here.
Grab him by the pussy.
He's had a change of heart.
Ridiculous bullshit.
If you do not write that P.O. box and you do not call that toll-free number, you're going to write your checks to Paula White Ministry. You will never see sustainment in your life, and your dream will die.
Trump is a test. Whether you're even saved. They can act differently for different people.
Somehow God put him in this position.
And everybody said, amen.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. This is a hoax. This is a terrible hoax perpetrated on our country.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Andy and Nokasuchi. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Andy, looks like you're still alive. It's dark there. Apparently there's a cloud of doom over you.
There
The whole
is
building?
there are clouds of doom and raindrops of doom here in the Boston area. Yes, you are correct, sir.
See, yeah. It certainly does. I like it. I like the change. It's kind of nice. We can actually see your, what's that, color in your face? You have.
Is there color in my face? I
cheeks.
still look awfully
He has
pale.
cheeks.
Awfully pale to me, but that's just me.
That's just you. Thank you for joining me this morning. Nokasuchi, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Waking up, getting some work done this morning.
Finally getting around to it, huh? You're doing your scripted videos? Is that what you're
Yeah.
recording
I've been stockpiling edited and scripted videos. Yeah, so it's lots and lots of work, and I'm going to be at it again until I go to my real job today.
Gotcha.
I've heard that you only have a few more days of active work this week.
Yeah. It's I thought I was going to be losing 50% of my shifts, which were bad enough, but it ends up being about 75%. I'm going to get about 10 hours this week. So yeah. It's not like the last shutdown when people had, unemployment coming in and they didn't want to work. Everybody wants to work and there's not a lot of hours. So it's bad news yesterday when I saw that schedule. My heart dropped.
Sorry to hear it, dude. Sorry to hear it.
I think I've got your coffee link below, and I've also got your Patreon link below in the description below. But if you have got a link to your PayPal, would you put it in the description or in the chat, and I'll share it abroad if you don't mind, and we'll see if we can get somebody, our peeps, to help you if they can, because needs help.
I think I'm more worried about next month than am so much about this month. This month I should scrape by the skin of my teeth. If this shutdown gets extended, as we all think that it probably will, then it's gonna be some tough times. I'll definitely hook you up with that PayPal account. So yeah, I appreciate it, Chris.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, so let's say we throw it out there and somebody hooks you up with $100 and you don't use it for your bills this month. Well, that'll be $100 you don't have to worry about next month. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's gonna. We're hoping we can get back to business at least as usual for the pandemic, which was 50%. But we're all suspecting this 3-week shutdown is going to probably go longer. So.
It's absurd when you consider that most Americans, you see these statistics every once in a while in these articles that pop up, like a vast majority of Americans don't have $400 in the bank or $1,000 in the bank to cover like a medical expense or an emergency expense. And the idea about having people down to 25% of their hours or even half of their hours when the entire system is built on keeping people in poverty or keeping people in hock,
I'm definitely one of those people. I kind of scrape by month to month. There's a lot of us and this virus is probably hitting us the hardest because we were just scraping by and now we're just the smallest amounts of hours is enough to really, really damage you. So, I'm lucky because I do have this YouTube I've spent the last 3 years doing. So I have something at least, but a lot of people are struggling right now. And it's, the government, both, I'm not sure if we're doing politics today, but both sides of the aisle needs to come together and get some stuff done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the things that you're going through right now are direct results of what's happened with our politicians and the craziness that's going on over there with them and how they're blah, blah, and blah, blah. I mean, we could go on about ourselves. And we have, and I'm not against it. Before we get too far along, though, I want to say hello to everyone in the damn nation. Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you're safe and stayed cootie-free. We got 3 different YouTube channels, 20 different Facebook pages, live stream on the podcast, Twitch, Twitter. Good morning to all of you wonderful people. I hope you had a wonderful and safe weekend. We're going to talk about, I'm going to let Andy do it because Andy's good at this stuff. There was an article by Hemant Mehta that he put out, and we kind of lashed on that. It's a show. We do our hyperbole and whatnot, but we titled the show, Bishop Kills from the Grave. Now, we know that the virus doesn't really do that, but wait, there's more. Andy's going to fill you in, then he's going to tell you about the problem, and then he and I will discuss how it was still a problem. So, Andy, and go.
Right. All right, go. So, Friendly Atheist from November 21st, 2020, of course. The name of the article is Church Head Dies of COVID After Open Casket Funeral for Bishop Who Died of COVID. Here it is. This seems like a natural conclusion of a story mixing religion and COVID. Last month, I'm going to try to pronounce this name.
I saw that.
Radovic. The last name. Radovic. I'm pretty sure on that. A bishop of the Serbian Orthodox Church died of COVID. He was 82 and had been going through virus-related health scares for weeks leading up to his death. As if that wasn't awful enough, though, when a funeral was held for him days later, it was open casket. His COVID-stricken body was right there, close to all observers, including the 90-year-old head of the Orthodox Church, Patriarch. Insert name I cannot pronounce. I'll try it. I'm brave. Patriarch Irenej. I don't know. Something like that. Irinej.
Okay.
And you'll never believe what happened next. And now Heaven is
what
quoting.
happened next, Andy? Tell us.
The head of the Serbian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Irenej, died in a Belgrade hospital on Friday after contracting coronavirus, according to a statement from the church. A large crowd had gathered. What's that?
I said that's craziness.
Crazy.
I was just cheering you along.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
A large crowd had gathered in front of the crowded church, with only a few attendees inside of the building wearing face coverings. Video of the service showed mourners kissing the deceased cleric's hands and forehead, as is custom.
Right here, it hurts right here.
None of the priests, including Irenej, who performed the liturgy, wore masks. That death was entirely preventable, but religious traditions prevented them from listening to common sense and science. There's no word yet on whether the funeral attendees were also afflicted with the virus. There was a headline from a Mississippi news outlet a few days ago saying, after big Thanksgiving dinners, plan small Christmas funerals. That's tough. That's a hard headline. Maybe there needs to be a sequel reminding people to be safe at those funerals too, or else there will be more funerals. For the sake of everyone, may Irenej's funeral be virtual. There was a comedian on Twitter that I follow, a very clever person, who said that it's somewhat ironic about white people spreading death and disease on Thanksgiving this year.
yeah.
So there you
time
go.
Of joy with a disease.
There's
just sticking to our heritage, culture, baby, coming at you.
So the first
would you
thing
like a blanket? Anybody want a blanket?
Yeah, exactly. It's scary how much we think alike, Chris, because that was exactly my reply to this particular comedian. It's like, I got some smallpox blankets here. I could get ready. So, of course, the first thing that I did was Google whether or not dead. Now, this is going to sound stupid, but I got a stupid meat brain. And it turns out other people Googled this same question, whether or not bodies can transmit COVID-19. Because Hammond made a bit of a thing about it being an open casket, and implying that for some reason that maybe a dead body could transmit the virus, which it can't. Dead bodies, on their own, cannot transmit COVID-19. Now, of course, if you're like licking it, if you're tonguing a dead body and you got a bunch of other people right next to you coming up,
and
lining
who hasn't
up,
wanted to do that?
right. Who doesn't have that, death instinctual necrophilia vibe? Don't.
Yeah. Of course, carry on.
Then of course that's going to be a problem, because if you're slathering your saliva, your spittle all over any surface, dead body or not, and other people are going to be licking that stuff up, then that can be a public health issue. And a big one.
So it's not likely necessarily, despite the hyperbolic nature of my gif over there, it's not likely that the bishop himself actually infected anybody. But if the first time they were kissing his hand in a procession and kissing his forehead, just of a dead person to begin with, problem, warning, problem. But then, imagine, like me and Andy were talking before the show, imagine like the first person to kiss the hand in the forehead was a COVID positive individual, and they were sloppy kissers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Then you've got that's just, and they weren't masked up anyway. And then of course, so anybody in there could have got it. They had this big funeral. The head of the church, some 90-plus-year-old gentleman, paid for it. At least. See, he's the only one I think mentioned in the article, but you could almost be certain that he wasn't the only one to get it, and he probably wasn't the only one in that type of crowd who was passed away from it.
He was just the big name, right? He was just the big popular
the headliner.
guy. Headliner. He was the headliner for the death event.
Yes. So that's just kind of my thinking.
You know what they need? They need some of that Pastor John Hagee. He's doing a throwback to last week. John Hagee's Jesus vaccine. That's what they need.
They didn't have any of that?
They did. Well, apparently, I don't know if evangelicals consider Serbian Orthodox folks to be Christians or not, because maybe they don't. I don't know. When I was religious, I know that I didn't think Catholics were Christian, but that's just me and my own crazy sect that I belonged to and the thoughts I had in my head. But yeah, maybe they just need some of that their Jesus vaccine.
Right. Well, I saw a picture posted by Armin Navabi. He posted on the internet this morning, and it's a picture of him with 3 nuns. There's these 3 nuns in a white habits. He's like, look who I made friends with. And I'm like, masks. I'm responding, masks. Like, their Jesus vaccine probably didn't help you. And then I hit, is a Facebook post, and I hit enter. And then I happened to notice it was a post of his from 2018. BC, before the cooties. So I was delete like before that. You look stupid, or before people realize they're stupid. One or the other. But yeah, their Jesus vaccine can't protect them. No. And for those who don't know, we did a show about it last week, Sean Alexander. Yes, Hagee apparently is indeed still alive. He did get the cooties. He was in the hospital for 15 days. He comes out of the hospital. He says, I was in the hospital for 15 days. Jesus brought me home. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like, you wouldn't be here without ICU.
that's exactly
my thinking.
Science. I think that's what makes this whole thing is what's the most dangerous thing about COVID-19, and we're seeing it right now headed into Thanksgiving. The disease is dangerous, but it attacks our ability to be social, and we are social creatures. And I think that this has proven, the last 9 months has proven that human beings all across the world aren't willing to sacrifice being social just to save lives. And it's really sad. It's culling the herd. It's evolution.
I am willing to be. You might find this surprising that I'm willing to be antisocial. This crisis has completely fed into my skill set.
Me too. I will completely accept that. I am naturally antisocial, so this doesn't bother me. But watching other people not being able, talking about like. All right, I can understand one family, two families getting together for Thanksgiving, you're taking a risk, but I'm seeing people talking about, huge Thanksgiving dinners, and we're going to bring them all in and we don't care. And it's like, you're not going to have your grandma or grandpa for much longer, are you? It's
I'm stealing that thing. It says after a big turkey day dinner, planning small funerals. I'm stealing it. Hemmant, I'm stealing it. It's like,
well, that was from a Mississippi.
Put that on a shirt.
So
I'm sorry.
That was from a Mississippi newspaper. The expect a big Thanksgiving dinner and small Christmas funerals. Emmett was quoting that Mississippi newspaper. Yeah, you can steal it from anybody. The ideas are just out there.
Satan compels I don't know about what to steal that meme. What?
I don't know what anyone else is doing for Thanksgiving, but I am just having. I usually have a bunch of my friends over. And of course, I have my kids over. My kids, which are within my pod, they'll be over for breakfast, and then I'm shipping them down to my ex's house for regular dinner because this is my first. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to mention that I'm a vegetarian. This is my first year being a vegetarian during Thanksgiving, and I'm kind of going through some issues with it. So I might just be drunk and streaming for the whole day while I'm crying. I'm lost.
Yeah, but the alcohol will break your will, and you'll have like this chicken leg to be gnawed by the end of the night.
I'll have to go out and get some kind of chicken sandwich or turkey sandwich. But yeah, I'm not having people over. I'm not cooking a big meal. Doing a bunch of sides, and I know people who are getting on planes and flying halfway across the country to visit people, and I'm like, is it worth it? Is it worth it?
I think they said 1 million people got on planes on Friday. Despite, here in America, they're saying don't do it. People bought their tickets before the new outbreak, and they're using those tickets. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I know a lot of people are doing Zoom meetings. I think that's probably the best way right now. Do it on Zoom. Have your little TV dinner and pretend like you're having a Thanksgiving. But they're just going to make it worse. And that's exactly why these shutdowns have to happen. That's why people are struggling, why I can't go to work right now because the idiots wouldn't wear their damn masks for 9 months. That's why I can't go to work right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and it doesn't seem to, I'm hoping it'll start getting better, you know? With Joe Biden, what's that thing called they're going to use? They're going to use that thing.
The science thing?
The science thing. They're going to use the science thing. Maybe I shouldn't say it that loud.
And we do have vaccines coming that do appear to be effective and will help. So, you know, but
a new one was announced today.
Yeah, so I mean, there is hope on the horizon.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean,
do we trust the Brits though? With all that tea, can they be trusted? I don't know.
Well, it's a sliding scale about who I trust in the world, Chris. It's a sliding scale about who I somewhat trust, the people who I definitely don't. That Russian vaccine, no, I would not. I would not.
If they say milk with lemon or milk instead of lemon with Earl Grey, just to hell with them bastards. Yeah, Russian vaccine. No.
A strong position, Chris, but I respect it.
Well, I know I was very skeptical about the vaccines because Trump and pushing it through and all of that. But I've looked into it. I'm a little more confident now, just by what I've read.
Well, let me drop this bit of socialism here. All right. So tell me if this is the most stupid thing you've ever heard, or if it's brilliant, because I think it's brilliant. I didn't think of it myself, but when I heard it,
it can be both.
It can be. So as we all know, there are many Americans. I've heard up to 40% of Americans who do not want to get the vaccine, right? They just don't want to get the vaccine, especially when it first comes out. So I say,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What we should do is to pay people to get vaccinated. It will increase the compliancy rate. And we give them we just give them cash. We just give them a check. Or, you go get your vaccine, you get your booster shot, you get cash. And I think that is a way to increase compliance with the vaccine.
A lot cheaper than all the ICU costs.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. Just a
it'll get
craziness.
It'll get some of those idiots who are anti-vaxxers in general, or religious nuts who don't like the vaccine. But a lot of people's belief systems can kind of be ignored when some cash is brought to them.
Odd, you should be talking about that. Here's Flow State has just showed up in the chat, and you are clearly a socialist pig dog for making such a suggestion. I'm just saying. What the hell? There we go. Oh, did my thing fall? It fell. Sorry,
did your thing fall? I think that's something between you and your woman.
I mean, I think that's a good idea. I know they're rushing things through, but from what I've studied, they're actually doing all the trials that they're supposed to do. They're rushing them, but they're doing the trials. The trials are coming back good. I mean, as long as the vaccine's safe and it's proven to be effective, then I think that you're on. That would be the best way to really incentivize people to go and get the vaccine, because a lot of people are saying, I'm not putting the mark of beast inside of me. They're calling that, so we're going to have an issue with that.
Right. Proven, if I may, to be safe by whom? What I'm saying is, do we get, oh yes, here's this Russian vaccine that Vladimir Putin guarantees is proven safe. They've got this study from Russia that proves that it's safe.
No, that's
all I'm saying.
There's trials and there's procedures. So if they're actually going through the trials and procedures, then you can feel pretty good that it's going to be safe for you to take.
Well, the thing is, there has to be transparency, right? So I could say I'm doing all kinds of tests and procedures over here, but I actually have to show my work. It's like math. It's like math class. You got to show your work. You got
and that's kind of the question, because I believe it's all FDA approval and whatever regulations we have here in America, but what has Trump done to crush those institutions, and what did he do to push this through faster? What shortcuts did they take? I think that those are the things that we're going to need to know to feel really safe about the vaccines.
We're actually you're talking about vaccines from like Pfizer and Moderna. We're talking about the Russian vaccine coming out, Trump coming out, Putin coming out and going,
but nobody's going to take that vaccine.
Bag. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the difference is what we're saying. Would we trust Trump? I'm sorry, Trump. I keep saying Putin instead of Trump, or Trump instead of. Anyway, would you trust Putin if he came out and he said, yes, in Vladivostok, we had all these studies. They say they're the perfect studies. You should take the virus. I just don't trust him. That's all. That's why when people said, would you take the antivirus or the vaccine? I always said no to the Russian vaccine, to the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine. That's completely different. Come at me with that one, we'll talk.
Well, I don't think anybody's taking that Russian vaccine seriously. Nobody's going to be taking that except for the Russians that are forced to.
Yeah, exactly.
The volunteers who survived. I can't do Russian.
Well, you did your best. Whereas moose and squirrel,
Moose and squirrel. Yeah, I just can't.
Boys,
What am I doing looking at me?
That's like a throwback to a bygone era.
Yeah, well, there's so.
But you should pay people. People should get paid for taking the vaccine. And so Chris, ask me the question that every knee-jerk idiot conservative is going to say when you bring up.
I know. Let me ask. How are we going to pay for that?
There is always money. There is always money. We have like 50 million aircraft carriers. I think
we can just sell one.
I think we can afford a few shekels to pay people off to get to do something it's going to save money. There's always money. You can just look at all the wars we fight and all the tax cuts we give to the wealthy. There's always money there, and it will actually save us money.
It's crazy talk.
It is.
Oh yeah, there's going to be extra money coming in too if they don't reverse Trump's tax plan, because people that make less than $75,000 a year are going to start paying actual taxes now. So
Yeah. That was kind of the funny thing. All these right wing people are mad, thinking Biden is going to hurt them by his less than 40,000 or over 400,000 kind of, but they don't realize what Trump and the conservatives did. The Trump and the conservatives dropped the taxes on the very wealthy, started giving them tax breaks, paying them instead of taxing them, and then started taxing the poor people. We got an increased stepped up tax for every year.
You got to make up for it. A lot more poor people than there are rich people. You give the rich people the big chunks, and then you take little nuggets from the poor people, and that adds up to make up for the big chunks you gave the rich people.
I just want to shout out to KCA Randy in the chat. Animaniacs reboot is on fire. I've seen 2 episodes. Loving it, what I see so far.
Good.
And if you haven't seen the Animaniacs, and if you're not a fan, I don't even know how we can be in the same room together. Internet room.
E-room. That's right. No, I'm a fan. Yes. I'm a fan. I love the songs where they do all the states. One of my favorite things was like, are you going to... Something about fingering prints, and the guys get fingerprints.
Fingering prints.
James Hogue makes
the adult humor was hilarious.
James Hogue in my side chat makes an interesting point. He says, if you were Russian, would you trust an American vaccine? Just saying.
That's not a bad point.
There is no moral equivalency between the two systems of economics or of government. There's really no
I think the point is, though, both countries naturally have demonized the other. So we naturally, especially if you've grown up in our era, Russia's the enemy, and to Russia, America has always been the enemy. So why would they trust a vaccine coming from America?
Right.
Well, the thing is that you wouldn't trust it in the Russian state because the Russian state has no press freedom. The thing is that Vladimir Putin kills journalists. He just kills journalists.
Oh, yeah. They wouldn't get the truth in Russia. Yeah.
He kills journalists within his own country, and then he sends out people, the FSB, to kill people in other countries too that don't agree with him. So I think that there's, all things being equal, I think it's in the best interest of someone, let's say, hypothetically living in Russia, to take an American vaccine or a vaccine that went through our vetting process than through a Russian. And the only reason why there would be less likely or wanting to take an American vaccine is because of Russian propaganda.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could that could be like a major catastrophe in the future. Is if they end up taking a less safe vaccine because, propaganda and all of that, and they're not allowed even maybe access to.
The Russians shouldn't even have nuclear power. Look at what they did to the Ukraine.
Unfortunate.
To Chernobyl. The idea that they're like cranking out vaccines. No, just no.
Yeah, interesting thought experiment because I never really looked at it that way. But good question, James. Yeah.
Just got my
Well,
anti.
Yeah, it's perking me up a little bit. I'm like, I'm a little fired up about that actually.
Right.
But how do you really feel? Well, we've got things.
I'm waking up.
Others,
I'm getting
there. Yeah. We can hear it. We had that bishop die, and then the church leader died. That was one thing. I saw another article where I just didn't happen to save it. It was also another article, I think, on Pathos, where a preacher or a non-COVID believing preacher here in the U.S. died. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, that's been happening, unfortunately, a lot. It's really unfortunate that Americans believe that freedom constitutes a lack of empathy for others. Like our freedoms are more important than the health of the others around us, and that's. I mean, we've kind of always known it, but we see it just slapping us in the face right now, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad.
You can see how religion, poisons everything in a lot of ways, to conditions. We have a pandemic. Oh, what can make matters worse? Well, I got this little thing in here. It's called religion. And it'll make things a lot worse. Couple that with American style toxic capitalism, my friend, and this is the pie that we have. This is the poo pie that we all get to eat every day.
Whenever the outbreak first started happening, at first I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't paying attention. I don't really kind of what's going on. There was this little thing over in China, but then once I kind of realized what was going on, I'm like, man, this is bad. And then we saw how the conservatives were treating it, and I was like, this is going to be financial destitution for millions of Americans. We're going to have a plague in the middle of this capitalist, glorified medical system that we have. All these people are uninsured now. Of course, even now, the conservatives are still trying to take away insurance protections and stuff like that. Right now, they're trying to do that. In the middle of a plague, these people are just vile. Anyway, so I called it. I knew this was going to be, hard on the people. They claim that Biden claimed that if you got the cooties, he wasn't going to charge you, if you could go to the hospital and you wouldn't get billed for it. I don't think that's a big enough step. We need whatever you call it, single payer, stuff like that. We need to move in that direction.
And he's vowed he's going to fix Obamacare and put a public option in it. And I think that is a good first step. It's the first step Obama should have taken all those years ago, but we have no chance of that, honestly, without a heavy majority in the Senate, and we're going to be fighting just to have that tiebreaker. So, I mean, I don't see any real healthcare reform coming for a couple of years at least until the next election cycle.
So there was a question in the chat about who is paying for the COVID-19 here in the States, about whether or not people are going to have to pay for it. I'm on the CDC site right now, and I'm just going to read what the CDC site says, assuming that the CDC is still a reliable source of information. Vaccine doses purchased with U.S. taxpayer dollars will be given to the American people at no cost. However, vaccination providers will be able to charge an administration fee for giving the shot to someone. Vaccine providers can get this fee reimbursed by the patient's public or private insurance company for uninsured parents by the Health Resources and Service Administration's Provider Relief Fund. So there's going to be paperwork. In theory, you'll be able to get a fee reimbursed if you are charged a fee, which is once again just, someone will be paying for it. It would just be easy if there was no paperwork, then you just come in and they would just give you $5, or they give you $20, or they give you $100 as against you. Oh, by the way, here's a fee that you're going to have to pay, fill out some paperwork to get reimbursed for it. And that's the perverse incentives that we have in this system. And this is the stupidity,
It is.
We should be paying people to get the vaccine, and we shouldn't be forcing them to get their fees reimbursed.
Right.
For getting the vaccine. Oh my freaking God, how stupid is that? Ugh. It vexes me, guys.
It's America for you. You got to make that profit off of everything.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the deal. We need to, you go to the hospital. That's the point I've been making this whole time. Let's say even they get that $45 fee or service fee or whatever. Let's get rid of that. Say it was free as long as it was the cooties, which is what Biden was saying in his debate with Bernie Sanders, was as long as you got the virus, your trip to the hospital will be free under my administration. And my deal is, all right. So peep this, my homies. You've got this little old lady. She's at home. She's worried because she's got a cough and she's not feeling good, but she can't afford to go to the doctor. But she hears that message. I may have the cooties, so let me go to the hospital and get. Now, suddenly she's at the hospital with something she wouldn't have gone to the hospital with, a cold or the flu. And now she has this mega hospital bill that she can't afford.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't have the cooties. But she didn't know until she got there.
It's all the war on the poor here in America. That's what it is. What Andy was just talking about. Who's not going to be able to pay those administration fees? Poor people. Or you mentioned that there'll be a lot of paperwork and stuff. Well, poor people aren't going to take the time to do that. They got to go and do that struggle. It's all designed so poor people are going to be affected in a certain way. That's why our laws are designed the way they are. That's why the police work the way they do. And that's why you see these things when it comes to a life-saving vaccine is going to be very accessible for the middle and upper class, while the poor is going to have to go through a bunch of regulations to get it. And I'm talking about the really poor. I mean, they're just not going to be able to afford $45 for a damn shot.
Right. Well, Andy mentioned, I think he was talking about this people get it and these people get it with their insurance paid or public, and they get it with this and with this. Just what about those uninsured people who don't have that? They're just screwed. What about you? You're just screwed.
They will, if you're uninsured, in theory, that you will be able to get their fee reimbursed from a public agency. But once again, that is more hoops you have to go through. It does not.
You still have to be able to afford the fee.
Want what you want the process to be is to incentivize the behavior of getting your vaccine, and that means getting cash up front. You get your cash. You get a little bit for the first dose, and then you get a big amount for when you get your booster shot, because there'll probably be a booster shot. That would make sense. That would make sense as against to having to pay money or having to show your card or doing whatever. That's absurd. That's criminally absurd.
And that's the whole reason we poured billions of dollars into it, is because it's supposed to be free to the public. This is a public health concern, and while the shot is free, then now you've got this fee and that fee. That's not free. That's a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford that.
Critical Crippled asks, Dave asks, wouldn't America be better off to get the churches to distribute the vaccine? You know what? It would, but half of them don't even believe it. They got their own vaccine called Jesus. That's the problem. If we didn't have that, if churches had embraced the vaccine and the social distancing measures with the vigor they embraced, they unembraced it, they refused to do it, we would be so much better off.
If we were smart, there will probably be some vaccination spots, pop-up zones, maybe in hot areas at churches. That's what I'm guessing. I mean, for churches that are not completely whacked out, Fox News people. I mean, you would think that would be a wise choice. I will also say, mention that there will be a variation from state to state, because here in this country, in the United States of America, each state has very specific rules and regulations about how they deal with their poor and how they deal with public health. So in a real blue state, in a true blue state like in Massachusetts, you'll probably be able to get in there without any questions asked and get your shot and get your booster shot. Like my COVID-19 tests were all free. Most of the time they didn't even ask me for my insurance card, and they just took down my personal information so they could call me. But if you're in a deep red state, I don't know if it's going to be that easy. I don't know what kind of expenses are going to be piled on for a vaccine. And this is what I tell my kids. This is what I tell my kids. When you think about moving or living someplace, then not only do states matter, but cities within that state matter too, because there's a difference between how COVID-19 is treated here in the city of Somerville to where I was living, where I grew up in Brockton, and so it isn't just states; it's cities within states that you have to be mindful of, which is insane. It's an insane system.
And it doesn't seem to matter what they try to do. Obama, Nokasuchi said, Obama should have done this whenever he put in the ACA. Well, actually, Obama really tried to do a lot more than what we got. It's just the conservatives fought him every step of the way, and the ACA we got was the gutted down version that he could get. Otherwise, we would have a single payer. It'd all be taken, but conservatives fought that every step of the way.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. No, his first 2 years, we had a firm majority in the Senate. He chose to compromise with the Republicans. They didn't put any pressure on him. He chose to do that.
No. Okay. Well, all right, well, let's. I would argue that because they went in against everything he did.
You're thinking about the last 6 years of his term when they had the majority.
Well, no, the thing that happened then that didn't happen now, that doesn't happen anymore, is whenever the conservatives went against him. Then actually, Democrats went against him too. It wasn't a whole party against party thing. Do they have that much of a Democratic lead in the
Well, once again, we should be making a mistake with saying that the rank and file Democrats in the House and the Senate aren't corporatists. That they aren't.
Agreed. We agree with that. Yeah, totally.
Squeezing people for as much money as they can, because the nature of our system is that corporations give money to politicians so that they can run for office, among with a bunch of other perks too.
I'm just saying the ACA we got was not the ACA we wanted. It was not the ACA it was supposed to be from the beginning. That's all. That's my only point.
Yeah, that's of course, my
even
point.
Still.
No, that's my point. We were supposed to get universal health care. That's what Barack Obama promised, and he didn't deliver it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah. But my point is that he didn't deliver it because of Republican obstruction. And your point is that he just didn't deliver.
Yeah, it wasn't Republican obstruction. It was moderate Democrats siding with Republicans,
actually.
And
I
it was
literally just said that. I literally said
you did.
I said
you did, but you're not listening to me.
Okay.
You're calling it Republican obstructionism. I called it compromise, which is what really happened. We got a shitty healthcare bill because Obama chose to compromise instead of use the bully pulpit and whip those Democrats. I can't breathe. Whip those Democrats into shape. That's what a president. That's what he promised to do. He did not do it. They had the majority. They had the House of Representatives. They chose not to use it.
Can we get Biden to do that? We got the House of Representatives now, right?
We got the House. We won't have the Senate.
More than likely, we won't have the Senate now.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. Yeah, we won't have it. Yeah, but I mean, I just think that if they can do it, we can do it. They didn't. You're right. I mean, he didn't bully people. Will Biden though?
He won't. He won't.
No, he won't. No.
This is why Biden should be his main job, of course, besides fighting off the coronavirus, should be to building up the Democratic Party, and our job as advocates is to shift the Democratic Party more to the left. And so hopefully, if we do those things in 10 years, maybe it'll be a moot argument about corporatist Democrats obstructing good policies. That would be nice.
Well, to what Rage has been saying, I can't argue that. I agree. I mean, what we've seen this over the few years that Trump is in office. Whenever the Democrats get in office, they want to shake hands and meet in the middle and all this stuff. When the conservatives get in office, they push it. So over the past, Obama had 8 years. He didn't do what he needed to do. He didn't push hard enough. Trump got 4 years, and he did more damage in 4 years. Just plowed it, bully pulpit, I think you called it. I mean, they did it. We need that kind of thing in our leadership on the left. We need that.
Yeah, Obama we gave Obama 2 years, and he delivered a compromised healthcare bill that cost him the midterms. He did not carry through with his promise. It cost him the midterms, and it cost us power.
It's an interesting question about, and once again, as we are all skeptics to some extent here on this channel, and that it is trying to determine causality. Most of the time, the people who win the presidency in the midterms, they lose seats in the House and the Senate. So whether or not Obamacare was directly caused, it might have made things worse because of the reaction, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a tenuous. It's not very prudent to say that the passing of the ACA was the thing that caused the Democrats to lose seats in the House and the Senate. You can yell at me now, Rage.
No, I'm not putting it just on the ACA. I think it was a combination of both.
Okay,
It was
and more.
It was a bunch of compromise. If you remember, so if I'm remembering correctly, this was the first 2 years was the last 2 years of Boehner. John Boehner was the House the Republicans' leader, and he got a lot of criticisms because he was compromising too much with Obama when it came to the ACA. That led us to getting to Mitch McConnell. And that led to 6 years of absolute obstruction. That falls on that ACA because Boehner compromised with Obama and we got that shitty ACA. And that led us to getting Mitch McConnell, which is was just a disaster for America and continues to be so. So, I mean, that's what I say. Like the ACA, if Obama would have held firm, gave us what he promised, then he would have had that base energized for the midterms, because you also have to remember we were coming off of George Jr., one of the worst presidents in the history of the country. There was a lot of sentiment for Obama to do well. Obama had political capital he didn't use because he wanted to bring unity instead of saying, no, this is what we're doing, and that showed weakness.
Well, I just want to say what everyone here is thinking, that I love the ACA, but I hate Obamacare.
Yeah.
Well, the point.
I personally think the ACA was a good first step. If it had that public option, it would have been decent enough.
So, the point is about going forward. Will Biden do this? Will Biden do that? We've already talked about no, he won't because of this and that and this and that. I didn't mean to get into a whole Obama bad kind of thing. I was trying to talk about what Biden will and can do. And it's like, oh, look, the conservatives don't have the majority. They don't have a super majority. Oh, no. And yet the conservatives get shit done. And yet here we are. We don't have a super majority. Oh, we can't do that because we don't have a super majority. We can't get shit done. They get things done.
In your chat, Chris, I'm going to butcher his name. Eurobench asked, what can Biden do without the Senate? And nothing else, executive orders. And
Trump did it. Trump did it. If we can get both of those Senate seats, then we can tie up the Senate, and then Kamala Harris becomes a tiebreaker, and we get what we want.
Well,
wrong? Do we need a supermajority? I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. We don't need 5 or 6 more Senates, Republicans, Democrat seats. We just need an even majority and the balls to use it. And we don't have that.
Rach, would you like to go first, sir?
You need a good majority to pass serious legislation.
What's Trump been doing? Does he have a good majority?
What serious legislation has he passed?
And what has he done with his pen? And why does he break out that pen so often?
Exactly.
Why does he need that pen?
Now you're
why
talking.
Don't we use that pen?
Now you're talking about a dictator.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. And exactly, because my response in the chat was that, Biden can do executive orders, but once again, relying on executive orders to govern is autocracy, or at least a dangerous step towards autocracy. And we've been going down this path for years. And it's dangerous, to tell you the truth, to rely on executive orders to save the republic. I mean,
constitutionally, the president cannot write law. Every time he does, he is being a dictator.
But the thing is that, it's against the law, but as we have seen, it's all about politics, right? So the system is incentivized for the Senate and for the House not to do a whole lot, so that the president gets to carry the burden of legislating as well as executing the orders. It's a mad system, and there are ways to fix it, but it takes political will. This is not a question of what to be done. It is to go out and do it.
That's true.
It's not a question of wisdom. It's a question of virtue. It is a question of exercising and force. That's what it is.
And you cannot discount the Joe Manchins of the Congress because they're Republicans.
Well, what my point, maybe I'm not exactly politically up to the top of the thing there. My point kind of is that we need to have the balls to do something. Yeah. They work from a minority, and they boss us around, and they run this freaking country, and they run it into the ground. They do so, and then they actually even get the majority, and they do the thing. We can't do any of those things. Trump. All right. So Trump broke the law whenever he wrote his broke out his pen. How many times has he done it? Why did he do it more than once if it was illegal and didn't count? Do we not follow those laws now? Do we not? When he broke out that pen, did not and changed the laws between us and China, did that not go into effect? I don't care how it feels, how it seems. It doesn't matter. We need them to break out that pen and change gerrymandering laws. We need them to break out that pen and give us ACA. We need to break out that pen and give us good things for our country. The fascist pig dogs have been using that pen for 4 years to destroy our nation. We need to use it back. We need somebody with the balls to use it back. Now let's turn it over to Nokasuchi. And now Nokasuchi understands my thinking, maybe my legalities of it, a little thing. How do you make that happen? Balls. We need balls. We need to be able to run up the score. These people on the right, they win. They use lies. They use hyperbole. We have the truth, which is just as crazy, oddly enough, as their lies, and we don't use it. How many times did Biden go after Trump's children? And talk about their illegal schemes and their inability to hold fundraisers in New York and any of those things, the relationship. How many times did you hear Biden talk about Trump's relationship with China? How many times did you hear Biden talk about Ivanka Trump's getting contracts with China after Trump making deals? How many times did you hear it? None. And we need to do that. We need somebody with balls who's going to fight for our side like they fight. That's what I'm saying. I don't care how we do it.
Well, I agree with you on part of it. So the last part, you're talking about taking control of the narrative, and I highly agree with you. Democrats are weak, and they don't
take the pin part.
They take control of the narrative. But what you're not understanding about executive decisions or executive orders is that because somebody signs a pen to an executive order doesn't mean they're writing law. Obama did it once that I can recall in his presidency, even though he signed many executive orders. And Brian Stevens is exactly right. Trump has outpaced Obama by far. But Obama did it once where he actually changed law, and that was with DACA. And we all applauded it because he had to do it in the moment. But it was unconstitutional, and the Republicans had a good point about that. So that's the difference. Like, you can write executive orders to dictate policy, but that's not writing law. Those are two different things. Constitutionally,
I don't care.
No, it's a very big deal, though.
Policy, I don't care.
Well, that's a problem. It's a very big problem if you don't care, because then we are into the realms of dictatorship.
My point.
If you don't care about a dictator, then that is hypocrisy. We have got to be true to our words and what we stand for.
Rach, I just want to ask you a question to clarify your position. Would you agree that there is a positive correlation, right? A one-to-one relationship. You're looking at the graph, right? To the amount of executive orders that a president makes to the undermining of the republic in general, of our system.
Say that again.
So in other words, the more executive orders a president makes, the greater the sickness of the republic.
Oh yeah, I highly agree.
Okay, so there you go. So either way, the more executive orders a person signs, it shows, it is symptomatic of the fact that the legislature is not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
I was highly critical of George Bush and his executive orders. I was highly critical of Obama and his executive orders. I've been highly critical of Trump and his executive orders. I will be highly critical of Biden and his executive orders. I am consistent.
However, and I'm going to say this, is that in lieu of, say, and this is the finger trap that we're now in, right?
Well, the finger trap now is executive orders. My point was, if that's not the way to do it, find another way, but we're going to skip that.
Right.
We have a constitution.
If there is no other way of politically getting something done, if there's no other way that we can get something politically done, then executive orders are necessary.
Sure. Yeah. And like I pointed out,
Well-
DACA, there's the Abraham Lincoln situation during the Civil War. Yes, there are times when you have to, as a president, lead. That's the slippery slope. But the argument as well is once you accept it, even when it's necessary, then you are on that slippery slope. And America has been on it at least since the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the most noble of causes why Lincoln took those war powers, right?
Yeah. Well, it always starts like that. It always starts like that. You know, it's necessary.
Well, he took those powers. Oddly enough, it didn't turn into a liberal takeover of the country.
Well, no, he had
happens when
integrity and one of the greatest presidents ever.
That's what happens when the right wing uses those powers. They use them to take over the country. To when the left, we want to give people health care. We want to give people college educations. We want to take some of the capitalist money grubbing out of our pharmaceutical companies and our medical industry. That's what we want. We're not trying to write laws however, whether it's a policy, a law, whatever legal navigating we need to do, we need to have the balls and start doing it. That's what I'm saying. Now, you can argue whether I'm not. Oh no, that's executive. All right, fine, I don't care. Find a different way to do it. We just need to do it. We need to have somebody with balls.
The idea that they're cranking out executive order is just what presidents do. That is
stuck on that word again.
That is naive and dangerous. That is naive and dangerous.
Stuck on the word.
Governors, mayors, they all have that capability. If you're the executive, you have that capability, and most abuse that power. To what you're talking about is that's what I've said all along. But we have to do it legally and within the Constitution. We cannot be the hypocrites that we call out. We have to do it legally.
Okay.
We have to have balls. We have to be strong, and we have to show strength, and we have to have the right of the narrative. But we have to do it constitutionally.
Okay, so all it takes is a majority of X amount of Z, and you can change that Constitution to say anything. And that's what Trump is trying to do.
No, it takes a lot more than a majority to change the Constitution.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It takes.
It takes the states and all that, right? It takes all those things. Now, 6 months ago, I said Trump was going to do this, and he wasn't going to think. I said Trump was going to talk about locking up his political opponents. No, he won't do that. He did. I said that the Trump GOP would turn in line with Trump whenever he lost this election, and they have. How many GOP senators? How many states have to convert or flip over? How many state Supreme Courts have to be politically corrupted and overturned before they can get to make an amendment to the Constitution and make almost anything where you have
you have to have a constitutional constitutional convention. That's how you change the Constitution. It nearly is.
No. If you don't mind,
do that. You get a majority of.
I don't think you need, if you're going to write a new constitution, then you need a convention. To write an amendment or to get rid of an amendment, for example, when we got rid of prohibition, we didn't need a constitutional convention. We just needed,
to change the Constitution, you have to have a convention, I believe.
To get a new constitution, you need but to change the Constitution as an amendment, because changing an amendment,
the fight for Citizens United is to get a convention because that's the only way we can change that part of the Constitution now.
So you're saying that to put in an amendment or to get rid of an amendment, we need a constitutional convention? I'm just curious because
we have a constitutional amendment to get rid of
to put in an amendment? No. To change the Constitution, yes. That's what I've been saying. This is getting really frustrating for me.
I can hear that. No,
I'm confused.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is okay. Sure.
All right. So, if we may,
have either one of y'all been part of the fight for Citizens United?
No.
We've been trying to change the Constitution for about 15 years now. You have to have a constitutional convention to do that.
So, did they need a constitutional convention to ban alcohol?
No, that's a law.
See, and that's why whenever Andy brought it up, I was like, well, why did they need to do a constitutional convention?
That's not.
See,
that's not the same thing. I don't.
It's not. No. No. I got you. No. I got you, Rage. I got you. So, whenever we do a constitutional amendment, like the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, that happened. How did that happen?
I believe it had to be ratified by a supermajority in the Congress, I believe.
Okay, all right.
So I'm thinking you needed like 75% support, something like that.
Okay, so if we've got conservatives and they get to that point in power, they can do almost anything, could they not?
So for citizens, I'm looking at Common Cause right now and commoncause.org, Citizens United, and amending the U.S. Constitution. So so they're talking about adding an amendment on the Constitution that would overturn Citizens United.
Yeah, because Citizens United is what took away our democracy. It's what made money of free speech.
And just to bring everyone up to speed, Citizens United was a 2010 Supreme Court decision that allowed corporations and special interest groups to spend unlimited amounts to influence elections. So now we're all up to speed.
Okay. So we need a constitutional convention to undo.
Yeah, and it's a paradox, because once you open up that constitutional convention, then you open it to the right, who can change who can offer amendments for what they want to change about the Constitution.
Yeah, and it gets ugly from there.
Yeah, and you don't know which side will win. That's why it's so hard to get it, and it's dangerous. I think it's only happened twice in the history of the country.
Right, and see, with that we've had things, and that's kind of where I was going with that. It takes a majority. Whether it takes a majority, you said I said it takes a majority. You said no, it doesn't take a majority. Then
I said it doesn't take a simple majority. You said simple majority.
I say this
majority is different.
I'm going to say this with love and compassion, is that to pass, I'm looking at the constitutional amendment process on archives.government, and the authority to amend the Constitution of the United States is derived from Article 5. You basically pass it from either the House or the Senate can propose the amendment. It passes both houses, and then of course it goes to it has to pass with a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate, and then it has to go through 2/3 of the state legislatures.
Yeah, that's a super majority.
And once again, with love and compassion, I say that you are completely spot on with that. However, at no point in time is there a constitutional.
Wait. No,
the Constitutional Convention is to change the Constitution. Like Citizens United, I don't believe is an amendment to overturn Citizens United. We want to change that. Right. We want to take that out of constitutional law.
Right. When I said a simple majority, I meant a simple majority in the Senate. We got to tie them, and then Kamala can. That's when I used the term simple majority. When I was talking about using laws to create getting a majority, I was talking about the same thing you were, where they need to get 75% of the state. That's the majority. We were both.
Well, it's like 66%. Something. I mean, 2/3 is it's near an impossible thing it's near an impossible thing. It's got to be like
been done twice now, and we've got a corrupt conservative party and a corrupt things like gerrymandering, and we've just got so much corruption. Again, that's where I started to go back to 6 months ago. People wouldn't have said that Trump was going to do this and Trump was going to do that, and that I was going to call that the GOP would go with him. How many of the GOP have gone with Trump in this craziness, or at least kept silent? All but two. So all but two.
Oh no, I agree with all of that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of sometimes we argue about the same thing. We're just
my thing is when I talk about strength and I talk about like Democrats need to take the narrative, that means be stronger with the truth than the Republicans are with their false information. But the one thing we cannot do is become what we despise. We cannot allow Joe Biden to go in there and have the power with his pen, because a moderate like Joe Biden, if he gets the power of the pen, he's going to use it to strengthen the oligarchy, and poor people are just going to suffer more. We need to be consistent, and we need to hold our own to the same standards that we were screaming about Donald Trump. That's all I've been saying this whole hour.
I gotta tell you, brother, if the other guy's fighting, if I'm in a knife fight with someone, I'm gonna bring a knife.
That's what this right. We're bringing a knife to a gun.
When you're talking the narrative, but when you're talking about breaking the Constitution, then why do we even scream about it against Donald? It doesn't. That doesn't mean we go and do the same thing.
I would say mean that. And I've been saying this for a while. When I say things like we are living in a system governed by politics, and we are living in a post-law era, then that isn't just about Donald J. Trump. That's about the system as a whole too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's dangerous. So the question is, how do we take ourselves back from the precipice? That would be by the prudent use of executive orders. I would say the prudent use of executive orders as we try to build up the Democratic Party and we rebuild the institutions of the Republic, and we primary those freaking centrist moderates. That's what we do for the Democratic Party. But it's about a prudent use of executive orders.
Yeah. But
So,
again,
so am I hearing grinding teeth on Rage's point right now? Or
you can legally use executive orders to undo most of the travesties that Trump has done. And that wouldn't be writing law. That wouldn't be doing anything that a dictator would do. The moment that Joe Biden starts to write law with his ink pen, then Democrats should be up in arms, just like we are against Donald Trump.
If I may, that answer should have been the answer.
Right, Chris, let me be quiet. And this actually has information to it. All right. So a convention to propose amendments to the United States Constitution. Now, there are a variety of different ways. So I talked about how the House can propose amendments. The Senate
there's 2 or 3 different ways.
But there's also, and what you were saying, a convention to propose amendments to the Constitution is also caused, and this is just a shitty Wikipedia article, is called by 2/3 of the state legislature. So if you get 2/3 of the state legislatures, then yes, you can get a convention.
Yeah, which is what we've been doing with Citizens United, and the Republicans are doing it for some other reason. I can't remember.
So I just want to clarify this. To propose an amendment, you do not have to have a constitutional convention. You can do it through the House and the Senate. However, if you're going to amend the Constitution through the state legislature method, you would be doing a constitutional convention, which is potentially dangerous because there's a lot of things
dangerous too.
Yeah, that is like a nuclear option, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. As I said, the Republicans have like a slew of atrocious things that they're trying to get a convention for.
I just want to say how wonderful I am on this show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Say how wonderful I am.
Yeah.
Everyone says freaking Andy.
Well, part of the deal is that in some points we're trying to say the same thing, but we're not. I mean, I literally said, I don't know about the law. I'm talking about using that pen in this fashion. And then we got locked on that executive. Biden is bad. And then literally you just turned around and said Biden could use that pen and not be breaking the law. I said I didn't know that. And then you literally say Biden should use that pen. I should go clip this show and do the contrary things where I'm like, I say this and then like you argue with me. Don't interrupt me, Andy.
Okay.
You argue with me, and then later on in the show, you say the same thing I just said.
No, I didn't. You were literally talking about writing law.
That's right. Oh, fuck me.
You literally talked writing law.
What I said was, I said, you're right. I don't know about that. What I'm saying is that something has been done and we need to do something. It doesn't matter how we get it done to undo it. That's what I said.
Exactly.
And I've even lamented, wait. I've even lamented that we keep going back to that writing the law.
And now you're busting my balls for what you said.
And then we go back. Then we go back to it, and you're saying that it's okay to use the pen. I said at the time I didn't know the difference. The law. I'm just talking about what Trump has done and what Biden's going to do, and we need to use that pen to do these things. And then you come along and you say, well, we can't use that pen. It's fascist. We can't use that pen. And then seconds ago you said Biden can use that pen. Matter of fact, Andy said we should use that pen with moderation and something else. He used another cool word. And then you said no. And then just now you said we're going to have to use that pen to undo Biden. For Biden's going to have to undo that pen without writing law, you said. Just now.
I just want to
That's
thank
what you
Nock
said.
for having the
for putting up with us and our ignorance.
I just want to. If it wasn't for Nock bringing up this whole constitutional amendment thing, they would have been off my radar. And I learned something new today. I feel like I'm at the end of a South Park episode. I learned something new today, and that was due to Nock and the this method of doing a constitutional convention with the states. So that's good. Thank you, Mr. Nock.
Yeah. I learned. I know less about it than I thought I did, actually.
Yeah.
So who's the hypocrite here? I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about. I have no idea. We were saying, what's that? Not or Andy?
I don't think anyone here has been a hypocrite. People get, I was working at the Nock. You should appreciate this story. It has to do with being a short order cook. I was a short order cook during college, and I was working with my sister, who's a sociopath. And she was banging the boss and stuff, but that's a whole nother story about my horrible life, my past. And so my sister and I, it was really busy. We had a ton of orders that we were cooking up. There's just two of us on the line. And we were arguing between each other as brother and sister would do. And this assistant manager came in the middle of us, which is a horrible plan, trying to calm us down. I told her to go F herself sideways, basically. And so I had to be talked to. By the manager after the.
Am I going to get a talking to?
Over. And he told me everyone gets hot sometimes, and that's okay.
Right.
But you got to be able to manage yourself for all intents and purposes. And it's a story that I still hold close to my heart, to tell you the truth, because everyone gets hot, but you got to
yeah. Well, sometimes I don't know something or I don't understand something, and I resist attempts to teach me. And I mean, I could actually close this show and go, listen, people, I don't know what you take away from this, but Nokasuchi's probably right. And I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm trying to understand, why is it that we can't do that? They did it. Why can't we? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Now I've kind of got an understanding. He's kind of thrown some things at me, and I need to mull over and stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult.
It's easy. That's my point. Because the statement was we should do everything that they're doing. And my point is this: you can when a lot of the executive orders that Trump has written had nothing to do with law. It was about regulations, environmental regulations. It was when he broke the law about Dakota Access Pipeline. Joe Biden can come in and use the pen and reverse all of that. It doesn't affect law. But when you start saying do the things that they do, when you start saying he did it, we can do it, then you're talking about doing the illegal things that Trump did, and we should be doing those same things. That's what I have been arguing against this entire time.
That's right. That's what he said. That's right. I agree. I mean, I already said I didn't know enough about it. I started out at that position. We need to do this. And then you said, oh, you can't do that. And then I remember specifically going, okay, well, I think the point is that we need to do things. I don't know how we need to get them done, but we need to do things. Is the pen how we need to get them done? I don't know. How do we get those things done?
Which has been what I've been arguing. You use strength, but you use it legally and within the Constitution. You do not become your enemy. You do not become what you fight against. That's not winning. That's losing.
So let me ask you another question. I know we're out of time. Let me ask you another question, though. If they were to get a majority of the 70% kind and just change the Constitution to where there's no more voting, it's all done through the Supreme Court. Now, that's the law now. Is that the law you fight for?
Say what?
That's the Constitution now. If they changed the Constitution and removed voting.
No, at that point, that's where the people should. At that point, that's dictatorship. That's where the people are supposed to stand.
But they've changed the Constitution. The Constitution is almighty. Now the Constitution says there's no voting. It's all done through the Supreme Court. The Constitution is almighty. Now, do you support the Constitution?
That's where you show them who the real power, where the real power is. That's the people.
Good.
Leave Knock alone, Chris. He did well. You both did well. You both acquit. Both did well today. You should be happy with that. Take the win. Right. I'm gonna be giving. You get a point, Chris. You get a point. Knock. I'm getting like maybe 5 or 6 because I might be biased with this.
Right.
But I'm gonna give myself a couple of bonus points there. But we all learned something and we had a very fun time.
Right. I did. No, again, Knock is morally correct. I think he's correct. Sometimes I got to learn.
Knock and I do have some differences, though, on a few things, but I think they're marginal and they don't really. It really becomes a question about splitting hairs and.
Well, yeah, you can't get into specifics in the midst of a heated argument. So when I bring in constitutional convention, we did briefly get into you can do things through the Congress, but it requires a supermajority. So what we're going to get this year is not that, right? You're not going to be able to pass healthcare,
Part of the argument I was trying to make was that the conservatives are capable of attaining that supermajority. They almost did. With effort, they could. That's what I was saying. Then if they do, what happens? What would happen? It would be ugly. But like you say, it would be nearly impossible for them to do.
It's nearly
right?
impossible, yeah. I mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy to think that
the only
maybe
reason
a Republican president would not leave office or refuse to leave office. And it's crazy to think, almost impossible, that 98% of this GOP elected officials would not argue against that. That's almost impossible.
I'm actually optimistic.
Fuck off.
No, I'm actually optimistic. I think that the GOP is showing their faces as they have now. People are on board now, but I do believe, when we look back on history, right? We always look at who's on the right side, and the GOP is definitely on the wrong side of history here. So I think that it's not going to take too long for there to be a definitive swing away from that. At least that's what my optimism tells me.
I would, if I was going to say a last word on this, is that there have been many times in history. This would be my last word, by the way. Hint. That yes, we do look back and say that there are definitely some people, some groups on the right side of history. However, those people have lost many times to the people on the wrong side of history and those dark ages, whatever, however you want to qualify it. And though even on the long term, justice does seem to play out, that could just be a bias because we're at this particular point in time. That's what I'm going to say. And that's my last thought.
Yeah, I mean, now that we beat fascism, once fascism is out of the White House, we've got to start fighting this damn oligarchy. And Joe Biden's a representative. No, Joe Biden's no friend of mine. So neither was Obama, neither was Clinton. None of these oligarchs are.
Who would?
I'm a socialist.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders would be a good start, but I'm like AOC Nina Turner team now.
Yeah.
We're moving on now. We're moving on.
I power to them for sure. All right, guys.
And they're already trying to tear AOC down already. They see the future.
Yeah, they do. They need to see it. Well, again, we've said the Democrats fought Bernie harder than they fought Trump.
Oh yeah, and they're fighting AOC right now harder. I mean, as hard as the Republicans are.
That's a whole different show. We were supposed to be talking about crazy religious people and their cooties, and I was going to talk about will Biden's policies protect us from the cooties, and we got started on.
I apologize. So the bear woke up. I do apologize, Chris. We're still good. We can disagree and still be friends, my man.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, we did. The only thing.
I don't think we really disagree on as much. Yeah. Well, we don't disagree on much yet. So
because I just don't know. There's sometimes I don't know, and I agree. Anyway, thank you, Andy, Mr. Quiet over there. Thank you, Nokasuchi, for joining me. Thank you to everybody in the damn show chat for watching. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We will see you tomorrow. I'm going to run the commercial from the people, and y'all have a great day. Take care.
Evangelicals, Christians of every denomination, and believers of every faith have never had a greater champion, not even close, in the White House than you have right now. I think you know that.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Prayer? Let's pray together, may we?
Yes.
Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
Why do I have to, repent? Why do I have to ask for forgiveness?
Skillful and godly wisdom have entered into the heart of our president.
You ask a lot of stupid questions.
I have never seen a more biblical president than I have seen in Donald Trump.
So right now, let every demonic network.
You are the enemy of the people.
Let it be broken. Let it be torn down in the name of Jesus.
Here is the Republican platform.
And if you don't support me, you're going to be so goddamn poor.
If President Trump is not reelected,
Here is the Word of God.
there is going to be a backlash against people of faith like we cannot imagine.
Where do you stand?
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
I watch a man that comes out and fights for righteousness.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. The Pope would have only wished and prayed
Thank you, sir, for uniting our nation and calling us to prayer.
that Donald Trump would have been president.
I think the Pope needs to seek Donald Trump's forgiveness.
He's a pussy.
Nothing God put him there.
Get that son of a bitch off the field.
Let the angels angel of the Lord encamp around about him.
God raised up, I believe, Donald Trump.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God.
I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Romans 13 does give President Trump moral authority to use whatever force necessary,
I'm going to bomb the shit out of
You
them.
need to send in 35,000.
including assassination.
This book right here will tell you how to vote.
I am confident that the Lord is at work here.
Grab him by the pussy.
He's had a change of heart.
Ridiculous bullshit.
If you do not write that P.O. box and you do not call that toll-free number, you're going to write your checks to Paula White Ministry. You will never see sustainment in your life and your dream will die.
Trump is a test. Whether you're even saved, they connect differently for different people.
Somehow God put him in this position.
And everybody said, amen.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. This is a hoax. This is a terrible hoax perpetrated on our country.
And so you get an understanding of the processes that it takes to actually make change, and it's frustrating and it's hurtful most times. Like I was telling the chat, like with the whole